Hey guys, I'm back with more on this Kamala Harris, Mike Pence debate. I want to hear what Sean Hannity has to say about it. Sean Hannity is a trustworthy news anchor, news broadcaster, or whatever you want to call him. He has 3 or 4, maybe even more than that, radio shows. I listen to him in the morning. But he's honest, and if somebody on the conservative side needs calling out, he'll call them out. He's bipartisan, but he swings a little right towards the conservative, which you can't blame him for all that the Democrats and those liberal news medias have done. You can't blame him. I mean, he knows what's good for the country. Just you know, he knows what's good for the country, and he knows President Trump is trying his hardest to work for you, the American people. But Sean Hannity, he is a little partisan, but he'll call him out if he needs to on both sides. He don't care. Take a listen to what he has to say.
A roller coaster ride the next 26 days. Now, during last night's debate, Vice President Mike Pence was unflappable, and he not only eviscerated, frankly, Senator Kamala Harris, but he exposed just how radical and, frankly, dangerous her and Joe Biden's positions truly are to this country. She also got caught in one lie after another. Her rambling, her disorganized answers, at times were even hard to watch. Frankly, it's hard to believe she was ever a prosecutor, given her utter lack of preparation and terrible execution. Well, more importantly, by the way, to date, Senator Harris and her frail, weak running mate, the ever-forgetful Joe Biden, they still are flat out refusing to answer significant, serious questions, dozens of them, including whether or not they plan to neuter the United States Supreme Court with a corrupt practice known as court packing. Frankly, it is unconscionable that they refuse to tell you, the American people, the truth. I guess they must think that we, the American people, are really that stupid. They really think that they can just coast to the finish line without being honest, without being transparent, without being forthright. Of course, the media mob, state-run TV news, state-run newspapers, so far they've allowed them to get away with all of this, which would be the biggest power grab in history. And by the way, that is exactly what will happen. Their non-answers, as Vice President Pence said, that's their answer. Now, coming up, we have full reaction. Dan Bongino, Karl Rove, Congressman Matt Gaetz, the great one, Mark Levin, will be here with their full reaction and analysis. And don't forget, the president will join us straight ahead. But first, we do need to talk about the Commission on Presidential Debates. Now, it's supposedly nonprofit, well, supposedly nonpartisan, an organization responsible for carrying out the presidential and vice presidential debates. But today, the commission unilaterally, without consulting either campaign, decided to upend the next matchup between President Trump and former Vice President Biden. Now, they were citing the president's COVID-19 diagnosis, and the commission announced that the debate would be held out virtually out of, quote, safety concerns. The problem is that was a unilateral decision. They did not consult with the president's doctors. They didn't consult with any doctor that we know of, or the Trump campaign, or the president himself. And by the way, by October the 15th, the president will be more than 14 days away from when he first contracted COVID-19, which means he will no longer, according to our own CDC, be shedding the virus and will likely have immunity. And I'm sure our doctors will be checking that out in the first place. So what's really going on here? Is it really about COVID-19, or is this debate commission trying to basically harness President Trump and help Joe Biden? Earlier today, Donald Trump Jr. tweeted the following: does anyone else find it awfully coincidental that the morning after Mike Pence destroys Kamala Harris in a debate, that the debate commission unilaterally changes the format to obviously benefit basement Biden? Now, keep in mind, during a virtual format, the moderators, well, they'd have access to a mute button, and Sleepy Joe would have easy access to his trusty teleprompter. So today, during an interview with our colleague and friend Maria Bartiromo, the president announced that he will not participate in this virtual debate and this last-minute rule change. And the president's right. It's time that we now ask the important question here. Is the Commission on Presidential Debates in the tank for Joe Biden? Has this turned into an anti-Trump organization? I think the evidence and the answer is sadly all too obvious. The moderator of the second presidential debate, if it happens, is a guy by the name of Stephen Scully. I actually know him, met him, actually like him. He interned for Joe Biden. He worked for Senator Ted Kennedy. Was that a factor in the debate commission's decision? And meanwhile, last night's vice presidential debate moderator, Susan Page, well, currently is writing a seemingly glowing biography of Nancy Pelosi entitled, quote, Madam Speaker, Nancy Pelosi and the Lessons of Power. I guess it's no surprise that she failed to ask Senator Harris dozens of important questions. Why? I don't know. She didn't ask about law and order and safety and security and the unrest that we've been watching for the entire summer. She didn't ask about Senator Harris's support for that bail fund in Minneapolis that put violent rioters and anarchists back on the streets. She didn't ask, well, Senator Harris about, all about calling Joe Biden pretty much a racist on a Democratic debate stage. She didn't ask about the time that Harris said she believed Biden's sexual harassment and assault accusers. She didn't ask Kamala Harris about her smear of Justice Kavanaugh. She didn't ask about Zero Experience Hunter and the millions of dollars that he made from foreign countries while his father was the vice president. She didn't even ask about packing the courts. In fact, it was Vice President Mike Pence who brought up any of these issues. And when he did, Senator Harris just flat out refused to answer the question. An all-important power grab, a constitutional issue, something that has not been touched in over 150 years. And he asked her over and over again and still didn't get an answer. Take a look.
Judge Amy Coney Barrett is confirmed to the Supreme Court of the United States. Are you and Joe Biden, if somehow you win this election, going to pack the Supreme Court to get your way?
Joe and I are very clear. The American people are voting right now, and it should be their decision about who will serve on this most important body for a lifetime.
Thank you, Senator Harris. People, Susan, are voting right now. They'd like to know if you and Joe Biden are going to pack the Supreme Court if you don't get your way in this nomination.
Let's talk about packing.
You once again gave a non-answer. Joe Biden gave a non-answer.
Trying to answer you now.
The American people deserve a straight answer.
The non-answer is an answer. Now, by the way, this just breaking. The AP is reporting the chair of Commission on Presidential Debates says it is not going to reconsider shifting the second debate from virtual back to in-person, despite a request from the president and his team. Now, by the way, back to Harris, she never answered the vice president's question. The moderator never held her accountable, didn't even follow up. So it should be no surprise that earlier today, Joe Biden, once again, he refused to answer the question. He did say he will give us an answer after the election. Take a look.
They'll know my opinion of court packing when the election is over. Now, look, I know it's a great question, y'all, and I don't blame you for asking. But you know, the moment I answer that question, the headline in every one of your papers will be about that. Other than focusing on what's happening now.
This is a question of constitutional magnitude. You're supposed to tell us where you stand on the positions to garner support of the American people. Him not answering should scare every American. And let me let you in on a secret. And Vice President Pence was right last night. Joe and Kamala Harris have decided they're going to pack the U.S. Supreme Court. As Chuck Schumer said, everything's on the table. Now, if they get their way and they increase the number of justices on the Supreme Court and they fill it with new activist jurists that believe they can legislate from the bench, people like Elena Kagan and Sonia Sotomayor and Justice Breyer, well, that would be corrupt. It would be illicit. It would be authoritarian. It would be a maneuver to give the Democrats total control over the courts, and that which they could couldn't win at the ballot box or legislatively. It would destroy co-equal branches of government. That would cease to exist. Our American system of checks and balances would be completely eviscerated. The media mob, by the way, is enabling them to get away with not answering this question. What else do they have in mind? Do they want to end the Electoral College? They want to end the legislative filibuster? Do they want to make this place or that place or D.C. a state? How many states do they want to have in the union? This would be the single biggest power grab in this country in 150 years, and it would transform this country to its core in a way that would not be good for every American and could very well destroy this constitutional republic. It is a clear and present danger, and that's why Joe and Kamala Harris are keeping it a secret. But guess what? They're not stopping at court packing. They likely want to end the legislative filibuster. Again, Chuck Schumer, everything's on the table. They want to ditch the Electoral College. Are they ready and willing to give Washington, D.C., Puerto Rico statehood in order to add 4 more guaranteed, in their minds, Democratic senators? In their view, a guaranteed Democratic majority in the U.S. Senate in perpetuity? Do they want one-state party rule, 0 rights, 0 input for the minority party? Because that's what it looks like. And the media mob, the so-called unpartisan debate moderators, can't even be bothered to ask a single question about such a heavy constitutional issue and the impact it'll have on this country and future generations. Yeah. And meanwhile, the truly unhinged Speaker of the House, Nancy Pelosi, she's just busy fantasizing still about getting rid of President Trump. She still has not accepted the results of the 2016 election and now says we're going to talk about the 25th Amendment, which lays out a plan of succession should the president become incapacitated. This is where her head is at. Take a look.
What are we talking about here? Tomorrow, by the way, come here tomorrow. We're going to be talking about the 25th Amendment, but not to take attention away from the subject we have now.
Do you think it's time to invoke the 25th Amendment?
I'll talk to you about that tomorrow. I'll talk to you about it tomorrow. I'm not talking about it today, except to tell you, if you want to talk about that, we'll see you tomorrow.
Court packing today, the 25th Amendment tomorrow. What else is on the list? Pretty much a typical Pelosi day, just like the last 4 years. This radical extreme Democratic Party, they care about one thing above all else, and that is power. Power now over all branches of government. Power over religion. Power over your health care. Remember, Kamala Harris won't even allow you to get private insurance if she has her way. Power over your businesses. Power over schools. Power over your rights. Power over every aspect of our lives. And in order to get this power, they're willing to lie, deceive, not be transparent, and do everything and anything they can do to cover up the truth about what their real radical agenda is. For example, here's Senator Harris blatantly lying about Joe Biden's plan to raise your taxes. Remember what he said? I'm going to repeal the Trump tax cuts. That means all of our taxes will be raised. Take a look.
He says he's smart because he can take advantage of the tax code. And he does take advantage of the tax code. That's why I'm going to eliminate the Trump tax cuts. And I'm going to eliminate those tax cuts.
The truth and the fact is, Joe Biden has been very clear. He will not raise taxes on anybody who makes less than $400,000 a year.
He said he's going to repeal the Trump tax cuts.
Mr. Vice President, I'm speaking.
Well,
I'm speaking.
It'd be important if you said the truth. Joe Biden said twice in the debate last week that he's going to repeal the Trump tax cuts. That was tax cuts that gave the average working family $2,000 in a tax break every single year. Senator,
that is absolutely.
Every American that got a tax cut under Donald Trump will lose it. That means their taxes will go up. Senator Harris also flat out lying about fracking, and we've got the video evidence. Take a look for yourself.
I am not banning fracking. Let me say that again. I am not banning fracking. No new fracking.
Would there be any place for fossil fuels, including coal and fracking, in a Biden administration?
No, we would work it out. We would make sure it's eliminated and no more subsidies for either one of those.
So, first of all, I will repeat, and the American people know, that Joe Biden will not ban fracking. That is a fact.
Will you commit to implementing a federal ban on fracking your first day in office? adding the United States to the list of countries who have banned this devastating practice.
There's no question I'm in favor of banning fracking. So, yes.
No more fracking, no more fracking. We'll eliminate fracking, but we're not eliminating fracking.
These people are going to steal your jobs. They're going to take them away from you. They're going to end fracking. They're going to end coal mines. They're going to end all this. There's going to be millions of people without jobs that can't feed their family. Fracking, it's safer now. It's cleaner than it's ever been. These people don't want it in there because you have these activists that are out there protesting against fracking, which I'm against fracking on land where there's springs and wells that people depend on for their life. You know, you need water. You got to have clean water. But there's places far out there that they can go that's probably got a lot more natural gas than anywhere. I don't know why they think they got to pile up on people's property. But yeah, they can go elsewhere. But people need those jobs. There's people that depend on these jobs to feed their families. And I don't know, these two are idiots. They say stuff so you'll vote for them, and then when they get in the office, they're going to cater to the activists, Black Lives Matter, Antifa, and all them other activists out there. Well, Black Lives Matter and Antifa is not activists, they're terrorists. But you know what I mean.
And when all else fails, Democrats, well, they always turn to more lies about race. That happened last night with Senator Harris once again accusing the president of never condemning white supremacists, following the lead of Joe Biden, who's been making the same false allegation. Now, this, by the way, is easily documented as a lie also, that Joe and Kamala repeat over and over and over again, and they don't care that the evidence is proving otherwise. But to help educate them both, well, we have the videotape.
Ever heard this president say one negative thing about white supremacists? Have you ever heard it?
I totally disavow the Ku Klux Klan. I totally disavow David Duke.
I got back in this race because of what happened in Charlottesville. People coming out of the woods carrying torches, their veins bulging. Close your eyes and remember what you saw. And a young woman gets killed resisting the hate and violence, and the president gets asked to comment on it. What's he say? He says they're very fine people on both sides.
And you had some very bad people in that group, but you also had people that were very fine people on both sides. And I'm not talking about the neo-Nazis and the white nationalists, because they should be condemned totally.
You wouldn't even condemn David Duke, for God's sake.
I've rejected David Duke. I've rejected the KKK, the Ku Klux Klan. From the time I'm 5 years old, I rejected them.
26 days, if these liars in the Democratic Party, if they do well in the election and are able to carry out their stated radical agenda, America, the country you know and love, it will never be the same.
And that's the truth, guys. It will never be the same. America, as you know it, gone. You'll be living in a dictator. You think it's going to be a socialist country, but it's not. It's going to be a communist, dictator, Marxist state. You're going to be ruled with an iron fist. They'll have you where they want you, on your knees. Just like Black Lives Matter has you. Oh, I'm talking to all you snowflakes out there. 'Cause I ain't getting on my damn knee for nobody except for God and God alone. You can do what you want. But Sean Hannity's telling the truth, and I hope you listen to it. And I hope you listen to it good. Trump did condone or did condemn these racist groups. He condemned them all. You heard him, but they still lie and say he's racist and that he supports KKK and all those white supremacy groups. which he's already point blank condemned. He disavowed them. He don't want nothing to do with them. He don't like it. And he's also said they all need to be arrested and put in jail if they practice that stuff. That it should be a crime and they should be charged for it and put in jail. And it goes both ways, folks. Black Lives Matter is a racist terrorist group. Look how they treat the white people, making them get on their knees. They say it's payback. Payback for what? We never owned no slaves. And you know what? Even if I was alive back then, I would have never owned a slave. I don't agree with that. It's not right. You can't own another person. And if you do, then you should be punished. But Trump's not racist. I'm not racist. And you conservatives out there that are afraid to stand up for Trump because you're being called a racist, afraid of being called a racist. Don't worry about it. You know it ain't true. And the people around you know it ain't true. Just tell them to shut the hell up. It's time for your voice to be heard. And Trump needs that backing. I know you're going to vote for him on Election Day, and that's November 3rd. But he still needs voices. Y'all go to all these rallies. I see all of them in there. But yet, when it's outside, you don't say a word. It's time to stand up at the rallies and out of the rallies. It's time to back Trump. Because it's Trump 2020, baby.